All right, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashem Yahshua Bashem Racha Hakodash, double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to you, sincere and hopefully elect brothers. You know, you sincere Akim, pushing the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahshua in spirit and in truth throughout the four corners of the globe. And in this lesson, real quick, I just want to read what I have here. In the blue, as it says, America is Babylon the Great in the Bible. So that's what I typed in to DeepSeek. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I want to get into the issue with these ports pretty much being affected by these tariffs that Donald Trump has put into action. All right. So once again, what I typed in DeepSeek was America is Babylon the Great in the Bible. So we'll get to that in a minute, but real quick, I want to read about these ports. All right, so West Coast ports empty. That's what I typed into Google or to Brave search engine. So this is what it says. It says West Coast ports in the United States are experiencing a significant decrease in shipping activity, with many ports reporting a dramatic reduction in the number of ships and containers. Okay, a dramatic reduction in the number of ships and containers. And this is the West Coast. All right. For instance, the Port of Seattle is currently empty, with only one ship present and no containers. All right, now, brothers, up here in this camp, in the Great Millstone Northwest camp, majority of us at some point in time have done construction, union construction, to where we've driven all over, the western part of this state doing construction, and back in 2017, 18, 19, 20, even 2021, construction was booming, in the Seattle area in particular, Seattle, Redmond, Tukwila, so on and so forth, Everett. And going to certain job sites, you would take certain highways, and you could actually see, the Port of Tacoma, the Port of Seattle, the Port of Seattle, even the Port of Tacoma, but more particular, the Port of Seattle. You can see, there'd be a lot of ships and containers, cargo containers, but that's not the case anymore, man. Okay, so these tariffs, they ain't take too long to really, affect the country, known as the United States of America. All right, the West Coast in particular. Okay, it says once again, it says, for instance, the Port of Seattle is currently empty, with only one ship present and no containers. Like, damn, no ships are present. One ship. There's only one ship present, and there's zero containers. That's crazy. Which is unusual for a typical busy port. And like I said, that is a busy port. We brothers who have done union construction, driving here and driving there. Whenever you slide through Seattle, it's not unusual to see the port busy. All right. And there was a job I had did sometime last year where, I actually had to deliver some stuff to the Port of Seattle, and it was very busy. You had a Navy. The Navy was there, like doing their thing. But that's not the case anymore. Okay, it says similarly, the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach are seeing a notable decline in vessel traffic, with fewer ships docked and many anchored offshore. This situation is attributed to the implementation of high tariffs by the Trump administration, which has led to a sharp drop in imports from China and other Asian countries. All right, now, I was listening to some news yesterday, and I finished the video this morning, and it was a video by the health ranger, and he was going into a list of different items that people don't really realize is pretty much made in China. And when he went through this list, it was crazy how many items that Americans use that actually are manufactured in China that will not be found in stores once these tariffs hit, or excuse me, once, because they already hit, but once they like really take effect. All right, give it some time in whatever is in stock in these stores, in their in their warehouse, and the reserves, those are going to be depleted, and it's not going to be replenished, because these cargo containers that they have the imports coming from China is not going to be coming to America anymore. All right, from China or these other Asian countries. All right, there's a lot of things Americans use that come from Asia. And people have taken that for granted, but they're really about to start feeling it. It says the number of Chinese freight vessels heading to the Southern California ports has dropped by 29% week over week, indicating a steep decline in trade. So week after week, 29% decrease. Then next week, another 29%. Then the next week, another 29%. Okay. So, that's means for a screeching halt. All right, because that's exactly what's going to happen. People are going to be going to these grocery stores, going to these hardware stores, expecting to be able to, purchase what they usually would purchase, and you ain't going to be able to do that. Okay, the shelves are going to be empty. All right. It says, additionally, the surge in imports before the tariffs took effect has resulted in a blockage of empty containers awaiting return to Asia. All right, so it says the surge of imports before the tariffs took effect has resulted in a blockage, a backlog. What am I talking about? A backlog of empty containers awaiting return to Asia. So usually, when these cargo containers come to the Americas, or come to America from Asia, from China, or wherever they come from, it's more expedient and profitable to drop something off than have those containers loaded with something that's manufactured, here in America, and shipped back to the country where that cargo container originally came from, and it's ping ponging, a profit. Okay, but these backlogged cargo containers are empty. There's nothing in there. Okay, so that's not generating a profit for America in particular. Because it's not. China ain't trying to, and the Asian countries ain't trying to, do business with America like that. Okay. It says the economic impact of these changes is significant, affecting not only port workers, but also related industries such as trucking and rail transport. Okay, because when those cargo containers go to the ports and get offloaded, all right, if they come to the West Coast, a lot of those goods get distributed to various parts of the country. So they get there by rail. They can get there by truck, by rail, so on and so forth. But if there's nothing to be distributed or transported via truck or rail, the trucking industry and the rail industry are affected as well. Okay. It says trucking delays and reduced rail traffic are becoming more common as the decrease in shipping activity affects the entire supply chain. Okay. So the whole, hey, as they say, shit rolls downhill. All right. They used to tell us that in the military, shit rolls downhill. And guess what? The shit is rolling down the hill, man. I remember years ago, first coming into the truth, that Apostle Tahar had mentioned that when you see the the trucking industry, come to a halt, and things aren't moving via truck anymore, that's how you know. Well, that's how you know that this place is done. America's done once you don't see trucks distributing goods and merchandise and product from one state to the next, or from one region to the next. That's how you know it's a wrap. Okay. It says ports on the East Coast, such as those in Vancouver and Montreal, are currently operating near full capacity, suggesting that the West Coast will likely be hit harder and sooner by the effects of the tariffs. Okay. Now, uh, across the Pacific Ocean, from the West Coast, you got China. Across from the East Coast, you got Africa and Europe. Okay, and neither Africa nor Europe were hit with tariffs to the degree that China was. All right, so there you have it. Now back in this, it says America. What I typed in DeepSeek was America is Babylon the Great in the Bible, and it says the idea that America is Babylon the Great mentioned in the Bible, Revelation 17 through 18, is debated is a debated topic among theologians, scholars, and prophecy interpreters. Below is a breakdown of the arguments for and against this view, along with alternative interpretations. Now, these AI tools and whatnot don't know what the hell they be talking about a lot of times, because we know according to the spirit that America is Babylon the Great. But I typed it in because I wanted to see what it was, what the results would be, what it had to say. So it says arguments supporting America is Babylon the Great. Political and economic dominance. Babylon the Great is described as a global superpower influencing kings and nations. Revelation 17 and 18, it says the U.S. fits this role as the world's leading economic and military power. All right, so America definitely is a global superpower. The Apostle Tahar just mentioned recently that, I think it was Japan that had 21 bases, or it was either 8 or 21. I can't remember. But either one of those numbers, that's a lot. A lot of military bases and garrisons in Japan itself. Japan's not a very big country, but to have, a foreign nation that with eight military bases, that's a lot. Okay, and America has garrisons all over the planet. So it says the U.S. fits this role as the world's leading economic and military power. Now, let's grab this Revelation 17 and 18. And let's see. Revelation 17. Okay. Revelation 17, verse 18. It says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the world, of the earth, excuse me. In the NLT it says, and this woman you saw in your vision represents the great city that rules over the kings of the world. All right. Now, America does just that. It rules over these other nations. All right. And the fact that, Donald Trump, implemented these tariffs and shook the whole world up, proves just that. Everybody was affected. All countries were to some degree affected, with him getting elected as president by himself. By itself caused, you know, um, a stir up in the way the world has been was being operated. Okay, and then with the tariffs, that just added more to that. Okay, so it's very clear that America is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. All right, over these other nations. Back here, it says America's consumerism, materialism, and corporate influence align with Babylon's portrayal as a wealthy, corrupt system. All right, now there's no country on the planet Earth that's more materialistic. Is has corporate influence. Everything in Babylon the Great is a corporation. Which America itself is a corporation. It's not a country. All right, there are no more countries. There's all corporations. All right, and America is the country that pretty much ushered that corporate influence into the planet. Getting actual kings and rulers out of power by way of assassination or coup, and then setting up a puppet and that puppet pretty much ushering in so-called democracy, to bring that country into being a corporation. All right. So America's consumerism, materialism, and corporate influence align with Babylon's portrayal as a wealthy, corrupt system. All right. Revelation 18:3 and then 11 through 15. So let's read that. So Revelation 18:3. It says, "For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." Let me see something real quick. All right, let me read that in NLT. It says, "For all the nations have fallen because of the wine of her passionate immorality." All right, and America is a very immoral place. All right, from things you see on TV to things you see with your own two eyes when you walk outside your house and go to work and take care of business and run errands and things of that nature, you see a bunch of immoral stuff that's being promoted at an all-time high. Okay, to the point that it's influenced these other nations to partake in that immorality. All right. It says the kings of the world have committed adultery with her because of her desires for extravagant luxury. Okay. In this place, America is a consumer based society. A click of a button. If you got enough money in your account, you can click a button and have some luxurious desire fulfilled. You just gotta wait a week or so, and then it's gonna get dropped off at your front porch. All right, by way of Amazon or UPS or USPS or some shit. Okay. It says the merchants of the world have grown rich. All right, now going back to this situation here with these ports. China and Asia. The Asian countries, in particular China, they've grown very, very rich because of the consumerism of these fat dumb Americans. All right, that live a life on hot pocket time and have no control over their desires. Whatever they desire, and they're able to pretty much purchase it, they're gonna do that. Okay. And that's caused these other nations to have grown rich. All right. Now, jumping down to verse 11 through 15, it says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buy their merchandise anymore." Okay. And nobody buys more, or purchases more goods than Americans. All right. So when America is destroyed, man, these nations is gonna be hurt at the fact that they're making all this product, but nobody's buying it. The only people who was buying it to that magnitude was Americans, and they're all dead. They're all dead. They're all back to the ether. All right, they're one with the wind. All right, dust and smell of smoke. All right, so these other nations are going to bug out at the fact that they manufactured all, they got these warehouses, got all this shit, storehouses of useless shit that we ain't gonna use in the kingdom of heaven, and they ain't got no drug addicts, so to say, no consumer drug addicts to buy the shit. Okay. It says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and thine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. Okay. The merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Okay, because this place is going to be destroyed. All right, and saying, "Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city?" Okay, so the fact itself of America being so much of a consumer nation, and it hasn't even been it's been like 101 days since Trump's been in office. Okay, he got in office in the 20th, I believe, of January. Okay, so it ain't even been 6 months. Okay, the tariffs haven't even been in play for that long, and the whole West Coast is damn near empty. The ports are damn near empty, and it ain't even been 6 months. You know, so imagine, or not even that. That alone proves that America is Babylon the Great. You know, for this place to consume so much, and then right now, it's at a point to where it's very noticeable that people is going to be affected by this. So-called Americans is going to be affected by ships not coming in. As big as this country is, as vast as this country is, the fact that nothing gets produced here, manufactured here, is crazy. But that's going to have a direct effect on the people that dwell here. That in itself proves that this place is Babylon the Great. Because this place, once again, is going to come to a screeching halt as far as trade, as far as, products being moved around. It ain't going to be nothing to be moved around. All right. And then ultimately, according to prophecy, Revelation 17, the beast shall hate the whore. All right, the NATO nations, all right, them EU nations, is ultimately going to turn on this place, shoot off those ICBM missiles, and that's all she wrote. All right, so what we're reading here, you can actually see it with your spiritual eyes. All right, and with your just two eyes, you can see it. All right, for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear, you can see it live and direct how what we read here in Revelation 18 is taking place, man. All right, but this place is ultimately going to be hit with that thermonuclear fire, and the other nations, that have grown accustomed to sending cargo containers filled with millions of dollars worth of fucking merchandise to America to generate a profit, to turn over a profit. They ain't gonna be able to do that no more. Okay. Now they don't understand that, America's gonna be destroyed, and the system in which they make their money via maritime trading is gonna be done away with. All right, you ain't gonna have no fucking gazillion ton cargo container ship crossing the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, going to different countries to fucking sell shit. So like it for my language, you're not gonna have that in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, some metal cargo container ship with a whole bunch of worthless crap on there. Nah, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna be needed in the kingdom. Now there is gonna be trade, all right, because everything that is of value is coming to Jerusalem, all right, coming to the land of Israel, all right. But we ain't gonna be having no metal ships. It's going back to the ancient world, okay. It will be trade, but it's gonna be completely righteous. It ain't gonna be what you are accustomed to in this wicked society. All right. Continuing on, this is number 2. It says cultural and religious influence. It says some argue that America exports its values. Example given: Hollywood, music, technology, much like ancient Babylon spread its culture. And you damn right. All right. Babylon, take rap music for instance. Rap music was just like some crack cooked up here in Babylon the Great. All right. And then it spread throughout America. All right, hip hop, rap, whatever, started in the epicenter being New York. All right, Boogie Down Bronx, South Bronx, yo. And then it spread throughout all of America. All right, and then gangster rap came on the scene, and that shit just corrupted the youth, the ghetto youth. And then that demonic ass music spread to other countries, man. So just using rap in particular, even Hollywood movies. All right, these dumbass movies showing some female superhero beating up grown men. All right, they play that in theaters in India. It might get released in China before it gets released in America, and so on and so, Australia, and Hollywood. Started in L.A. You got Bollywood in India, a bootleg Hollywood in India. So you can see how so-called American culture and religious influence has spread throughout the whole world, man. It says critics claim American Christianity has compromised with secularism, resembling the harlot church in Revelation 17. Now, Christianity, all right, has been compromised with secularism because, and there's 2 points with that I want to make. One being, the so-called Christian church, off top, they're diluted with shit of the world. All right, even when you like growing up going to church, I noticed that how you had Christian rap, and I always thought that was kind of weird, like Christian rap and Christian rock, and it just it's like, damn, okay, this is you just trying to do worldly shit, like the blind person can see that shit. But then within the world of Israel, we can see how, because the true Christians are the Israelites, all right, the followers of Yahweh Shai, the anointed ones, all right. But even within the world of Israel, those that know they're Israelites, a lot of these other Israelite groups, they are mixing the world with, attempting to mix the world with the truth. All right, a case in point being Bishop Nathaniel of IUIC rubbing elbows with the Muslims. All right, you're taking something from the world and trying to, make it compatible with so-called, the Bible, Christianity, for lack of a better term, and that's not, what the Heavenly Father wants. Okay, but anyways, Christianity is the religion, the plantation religion that the slave master gave us, and you can kind of say that's the religion of America, um, delusional, wholesome white folks, believe they're Christians, which they're not. But Christianity is pretty much, you can say that's America's so-called religion, all right? But it's completely secular. It's really, all right? So Revelation 17, let's get that real quick. And 5, it says, and upon her forehead, all right, talking about that great city, all right, America, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the world. Okay. Let's read it in NLT. It says, a mysterious name was written on her forehead, Babylon the Great, mother of all prostitutes and obscenities in the world. Okay, because once again, that influence that America has corrupted all these other nations, man. Okay, whatever wicked, perverse, profane BS that America, plasters on TV, or, marches for, or, goes to bat for, to advocate for, these other nations end up following suit and becoming pretty much just mockingbirds and copycats of America, man. That's why this place, Babylon the Great, America, is known as the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Okay? All the abominations of the earth, you can find all that right here in Babylon. All right, this place is a one-stop shop for wickedness, for evil. Okay? It says moral corruption. It says Babylon symbolizes moral decay. Revelation 18:2-5. It says some see parallels in America's societal shifts on issues like abortion, LGBTQ rights, and wealth inequality. All right, so the rich get richer, and the poor get poorer. All right, with the introduction of the Crown Royal 2020, um, that did away with the middle class, man. You know, to where you became either you if you was poor, you got more poor, and if you was rich, you got more rich. And since then, it's just been a gradual increase of that. Okay, so the moral inequality is at an all time high, and with these tariffs, that's doing even more of that. Okay, LGBTQ, that's man, that's everywhere. Okay, everywhere you go, you see these uh, weirdo people that just need to be sent to the spirit world, man. All right, and if you condemn that, all right, they look to persecute you for that. You know. Um. So let's get Revelation. Let me see, 11 and verse 8. It says, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified." Okay, and their bodies represent the Israelites, because when we came over here to the Americas, in particular America, through the Spirit, we had to wake up, to this knowledge, to who we were. Esau, us knowing that we're Israelites is not on Esau's account. That bastard would love for it to be, 1960s all over again. Where niggas is docile and as stupid as they want to be, cooning and thinking this is the promised land, and rushing to get married, and have a white picket fence, and in a fucking old school long metal car, a Buick Skylark or something, and slave till they die, slave away and work till they die, and do everything for their wife. And like, man, Esau would love that. Okay, but it's through the Spirit that we woke up to us being, the Heavenly Father's chosen people. All right, but our dead bodies just being pretty much without the knowledge of who we are, without the breath of life, without the knowledge of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that's what we were. Just dead bodies, just sprinkled all around Babylon the Great, because the scriptures do say, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. Okay, so at one point in time, you just had a bunch of dead, spiritually dead Israelites, roaming about Babylon the Great, all right, the great city, all right, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, all right. Now, Sodom being because of what was mentioned here, this LGBTQ plus BS, and Egypt because the point of us coming here was to be slaves. That's the reason why we didn't come here to uh have a rest, to have a continuing city, to prosper, and become rich off crypto and things of that nature. No, we came over here. The sole purpose of us coming over here, according to Esau's mind, is them niggers are going to be slaves. We're going to put them on boats and put them in slavery. All right. And they're going to build up, in Esau's mind, the kingdom of heaven, because America was supposed to be, the kingdom of heaven for Esau. All right. which it was at some point in time. You know, it was, their heaven. But guess what? As Apostle Tahar mentioned also in that video, a video he did, um, where I believe he was quoting David Goggins, because I was watching that David Goggins train Israel Adesanya yesterday. The apostle had mentioned that video, so I looked it up. But David Goggins was saying, when your road ends, my road begins. Meaning when he's training and, people get tired and throwing up, and, that's when his road begins. Okay? So Esau's road is ending and ours is beginning. Okay? Where also our Lord was crucified, because here in Babylon, they told us that the Lord was a so-called white man, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, back here it says bullet point number 2 of moral corruption. It says the U.S. has been accused of spiritual adultery by blending faith with nationalism. All right, because there's supposed to be a separation of church and state. But continuing on, number 4, it says, just as Babylon fell suddenly, Revelation 18:8-10, some predict America's decline due to due to internal divisions, debt, or external threats, example given BRICS nations. All right, so suddenly, it's prophesied that Babylon is going to fall suddenly, and we'll get that Revelation 18:8-10. It says some predict America's decline due to internal divisions. All right, which this place is internally divided. The January 6th storming of the Capitol, is an example of that. Even though, that most likely was all orchestrated and set up, because just like everything else in America is all orchestrated and set up, because it's fake as hell. America's a fake ass place. But there is some grassroots internal divisions. Okay, debt. This place is in immense debt. Okay, or external threats. All right, BRICS nations, and you had the BRICS nations, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, that have banded together to pretty much be able to operate within a system that doesn't include depending on America. All right, to pay for, international to pretty much take care or solve international debts or payments. They got their own payment system that isn't relying on what America's payment system initially. Okay. So let's read Revelation 18:8-10. And then we'll get that Habakkuk. Revelation 18:8. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord power who judgeth her. And the kings of the earth, whom have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. All right, so once again, these nations that have enjoyed, great luxury, got rich and all that is going to mourn. Okay, when they see this place up in smoke, because they're going to know that, the cash cow is gone. Okay, the heifer is burnt up. So I'm going to read in the NLT, starting at verse 8. It says, therefore, these plagues will overtake her in a single day, death and mourning and famine. She will be completely consumed by fire, for the Lord power who judges her is mighty. Okay. All 5,000 square miles of America is going to be eviscerated. All right. It says, and the kings of the world who committed adultery with her and enjoyed her great luxury will mourn for her as they see the smoke rising for her charred remains. Okay. Because that smoke, according to prophecy, is going to rise for a long time. And when you think about it, this country, like I said, is 5,000 square miles. With all of that being set on fire, and there being nothing to quench that, it ain't gonna be no rain cloud that's gonna hover over America and put that fire out. No, this place gonna burn for a long time. And that smoke is gonna be seen, the world over. It says they will stand at a distance, this verse 10, NLT, terrified by her great torment. They will cry out, how terrible for you, O Babylon, you great city. In a single moment, the Most High's judgment came on you. All right, so before this place knows it, it's going to be bombarded with ICBM missiles. All right, from Russia, from China, Pakistan, whatever countries, from, let me not forget, them EU nations, and lastly, let me grab this Habakkuk 2, and because it mentioned, okay, some predict America's decline due to internal divisions, debt, or external threats. With that point of debt, and this place is in immense debt, to where, there's certain parts of America that's owned by China. That's owned by these other nations. And if that's the case, that lets you know this place is in debt. The fact that, a whole nother country, owns big ass parts of another country, like, yeah, you in debt, man. How does that work? All right. Verse 5, Habakkuk 2:5, it says, yea, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. In the NLT, it says, wealth is treacherous, and the arrogant are never at rest. They open their mouth as wide as the grave, and like death, they are never satisfied. In their greed, they have gathered up many nations and swallowed many peoples. Okay. Now that word, debt, let me see. Not debt, excuse me. Verse 6, it says, NLT, it says, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. All right, so that word clay, when you go into it in the Hebrew, is ibatyat, which goes into debt. All right. So ibatyat, and that's H5671. It says weight of pledges, heavy debts. All right, straight debt. Ooh. Yeah, pawn goods. That's funny. All right, right here it says pawn goods. All right, thick clay. That debt. So America is this is a debt-based society, man. Everybody living off of damn credit cards, But yeah, that pretty much concludes the lesson. I just wanted to bring out some of this information. So based upon, this information here and from DeepSeek, and first and foremost the scriptures, And what's currently going on within America, all right, with these ports, all right, it's clear as day that America is Babylon the Great, all right, which is due to be set on fire, all right, due to be sacrificed, due to be up in smoke here, according to prophecy, on the Lord's time. But, Abba Ratazar, I pray this was an edifying lesson. Until next time, I say Shalom. And it's 1:44 right now, 10:44, Barakatah Yahweh Shem El Shai. Shalom.